if I was Doug Peterson, immediately after the Patriots game, milliseconds after, I would have shipped all the receivers to Seattle. I would have also shipped the jug machine over too, right to the fish market. I would have filled the jugs machine up with the fish, and in the fish market, I would have made every single receiver take that jugs machine and catch fish out of the jugs machine. That's what I would have done. Off to the fish market all week in Seattle. If you can catch a fish, you can catch a ball. That's the way I think about that. Brendan Albert, Mike Skolsky are both here. I have no idea where I was going with that, but that's what the Eagles need to do. Fish in the fish market, hitting the jugs machine. Let's go. It's Seattle week. Eagles are 5-5, and okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough game to watch. I mean, we were expecting if anything, our defense to be the weaker point of those two. But I mean, we got some dealt with some late injuries that we weren't really talking about during our last video. We didn't talk about. There was no news about Jordan Howard possibly missing the game. There's no really news that Alshon Jeffrey was going to miss the game. And then after the first two series, Lane Johnson goes out. So I mean, you saw as soon as Lane went out, our offense just fell flat. And then, like my mustache, Aguilar dropped the ball. It's gone. I mean, his ball tracking skills are horrendous. I mean, there's two, obviously the game tying situation, and then also there's another he had in the end zone where he didn't even look. He didn't even try to get his feet in. He was completely oblivious to where he was in the end zone. He was so focused on catching the ball that both his feet were out of bounds. Didn't even make an attempt. It's kind of pathetic, actually. But that's where we are in offense right now. Those are the weapons that we're dealing with. So. It is what it is, I guess.
I think the way you frame this game is completely, unique to what you thought about the Patriots going into this game, right? So if you went into this game like myself thinking, hey, this Patriots defense is really freaking good, you probably aren't completely upset the fact that the Eagles put up a poop sandwich of a game when realistically they didn't have their number one running back, their number one receiver, or the number two receiver really coming into the season in Deshaun Jackson. So in my lens here, fellas, I look at a team who probably has the best defensive backs in the league going versus maybe the worst group of receivers in the league. So am I really surprised? Yeah. Like for me, that if I look at it through that lens, I'm not really that surprised, to be completely transparent with you here. But if you want to focus everything through, the Eagles lens, yeah, only scoring 10 points, doesn't matter who you play, isn't exactly awesome. You're not going to win many games in the league when you only score 10 points. So I hear everything you guys are saying, but I don't want us to get to the point where it's, hey, let's all take turns at slapping the piñata called Nelson Aguilar and rotate yelling and making fun of him, when it's like, can we talk about the fact that they're playing arguably the best defense in the league right now? And they didn't have their top three, maybe even four, if you want to include Lane Johnson, Deshaun Jackson, Jordan Howard, Alshon Jeffrey. None of those guys played. So how can we all be really shocked when the offense struggled?
I wouldn't say that we're shocked that they struggled.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that they're shocked, especially with all the injuries. Now, I think what we may have expected was, again, you had 9 straight punts at one point during the game, and
sure.
That's the thing. But what I want to talk about is this. We could get into Carson and we'll just start with Carson talk. That's what everybody wants to talk about. But this game really reminded me of the Saints game, the playoff game, the divisional round game last year, because everybody wants to talk Nick Foles and Carson. Well, to be honest with you, this was the same game Nick Foles had in the Saints game. The same exact thing. This was the same exact thing that I saw. And you know what I saw? You couldn't run the ball consistently because the running backs weren't seeing the holes consistently. And Jordan Howard, this absence cannot be undermined or understated. And it's funny because he was a guy coming into the year I wasn't really crazy about. I was like, Jordan Howard, they got him for a 6th-round pick. There's a reason why the Bears, really weren't crazy about him. And here he is. He's the best running back on the team, and he's by far the best one in terms of the vision and being able to see the holes decisively and get through them. Because, Brendan, we were talking about, texting about it. I mean, these running backs weren't really seeing the holes consistently. So what this does is this. So on 1st and 2nd down, where you're usually getting 4 to 5 yards, carry with Jordan Howard, and you're putting yourself in more manageable third down situations, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, that's a lot easier to convert, obviously, against the Patriots' #1 ranked pass defense. So instead of 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4, a lot of the afternoon, you're in a lot of 3rd and 6 plus. In fact, the Eagles were in 9 of those instances, and they were 1 of 9. So a 3rd and 10, for example, where you throw a quick slant, that's not going to get picked up. But on 3rd and 5, that is going to get picked up. So, I think this is a big thing in this game. Now, Miles Sanders, this is going to come with time, with the vision. He's been great as a receiver. But in terms of, seeing the holes, he's not really seeing it on a consistent basis. Boston Scott missed a cutback run. So I just wanted to make that point. But on to Carson now, because he's been a subject. He's now a lightning rod. These were some things I actually talked about earlier in the season when nobody really wanted to talk to me about it. People were reluctant. But, some of the inaccuracy did waver. But at other times, you got to remember, this pass defense was ridiculous. It's the best pass defense in the NFL. You have no Alshon Jeffrey. These guys were on these receivers like glue. And some of the passes that were actually thrown in 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, by the way, were pinpoint and precise. So Zach Ertz on this deep cross, unbelievable pass. There were 3 passes in a row prior to the first half that were great and right on the money. It just showed you how difficult and tough it was out there to complete throws against that secondary. Anyway, long-winded point, but the question at hand here, Carson Wentz. What do we think about him at this particular moment?
Honestly, this is reminding me a lot of Dak Prescott last year before they made the move for Amari Cooper. And then, you have Andrew Luck when they had those shit offensive lines in front of them. These are great quarterbacks, but when you don't surround them with talent and you need them to be perfect every single throw, you need everything. They can't make a mistake or else their offense is stagnant. There's so much pressure on Wentz. Like you said, he made some great throws, but against the best defense in the NFL, terrible wind conditions. You saw Brady wasn't doing that well either. You're putting a lot of, you're asking Carson to move mountains instead of getting him some bulldozers, as Les Bowen said, to help move that, because he really needs to be perfect. And obviously, against the best defense and with those weather conditions, he wasn't perfect. So obviously there's some blame on him, but I'm not panicking about Carson's long-term fit or anything like that. But there's obviously places for him to improve, but it comes down to, because of our lack of weapons, like you said, Lane Johnson out, Jordan Howard wasn't there to help. He pretty much needs to be perfect, especially that game.
Skolsky, it's such a novel idea that, hey, if you put better players around someone, they're going to become a better player.
Yeah.
What a shocking revelation here. And when you take good players around, suddenly they're not as good. Who would have thought this? That's I say this like tongue in cheek, being sarcastic here, but that's the reality here. That's 100% what's going on. And I love the old conversation, because whenever we talk Carson, for whatever reason, you have to talk Dak, right? Because apparently that's like the other side of the cookie. You have to talk about both of them together. But look, you take that offense the Cowboys have, you put him in Eagles jerseys, yeah, Carson's going to look pretty damn good. That's not a shot at Carson. That's not a shot at Dak. That's just the reality of the importance of building a good roster. In my opinion here, guys, every quarterback in the NFL is some type of system quarterback, okay? The only exceptions to this are guys named Rodgers and Wilson right now, as well as Mahomes. But even you could argue Mahomes right now is a great system situation.
Well, Andy Reid has always produced quarterbacks.
Yeah.
100%. But, Wilson, Rodgers, those guys can win with anyone. But even right now, you talked about Skolsky, Brady isn't lighting the league on fire. You want to talk about a guy who maybe is the MVP candidate or leading candidate, Lamar Jackson? Yeah, he's successful in that offense. You take him out of that offense, we're not seeing the same Lamar Jackson, and that's not a shot at Lamar. That's just reality here, folks. So, look, I hate when we talk negative about the idea of a game manager or the idea of a system quarterback. Everyone is, guys, and that's the good thing about the NFL. It's all about putting guys around them here, and that ultimately is what we're seeing.
So here's basically the gist. So last time I went long-winded. This time I'll go a little bit less winded. So here's the deal. They're in a lot of third and long situations because they didn't have Jordan Howard. Lane Johnson was out. and they don't have the receivers who can match up against the secondaries, especially that secondary. That's basically what happened. Now, I will say this about Carson. When I did watch the tape, the sacks that he did take. Now, the thing is like he's looking downfield. Nobody's open. So the game's running a million times a minute. It's easy for us to play armchair quarterback and really stop it, watching it in slow motion, replaying it back 5 times, watching the same play over and over again. But, basically the couple times that he was sacked, he did have Miles Sanders in the flat where he could have went with the ball because he's looking for the big play downfield instead of just taking the couple yardage out of the backfield. But other than that, I mean, there was nothing there. And there's not really much you can do. I mean, it was the same game that I saw Nick Foles play in the divisional playoff game. So while everybody wants to compare the two, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it was a very vanilla scheme and very vanilla offense game plan into the, especially after it was 10-0. If you remember that Saints game, it was 14-0 or whatever it was, 13-0. Then they stalled and they died after that. Didn't have the amount of weapons. They didn't have the weapons. They did have Jeffrey in that game. Didn't have him in this game.
Golden
That's
Tate.
what it reminded me of. So,
they say they had Golden Tate in that Saints game, but
yeah.
Adrian, I'm echoing a little bit. I think. So I think it might be worse now.
Now it's worse. Oh no, I'm turning my volume down. All right. Okay. So you know what I wanted to get into are the injuries because, this is something we didn't even talk about last week because we were just like, all right, they're off a bye. We did do this on a Wednesday, so it was before it really got serious on Thursday and Friday. But it's like, this is scary to me that all these guys just get hurt each and every week. It's Lane Johnson gets hurt during the game. We're dealing with Deshaun Jackson all season long. Alshon Jeffrey's injuries. Jordan Howard is now getting hurt. I mean, what's going on here with this? What do you think about all this?
I mean, a lot of it's bad luck. I mean, concussions, I don't think the Eagles could have really done anything to really prevent that with Lane Johnson. Unfortunately, it seemed like I actually thought Miles Sanders started off pretty well, but as Lane went down, our run game kind of died with him. And actually, our whole offense kind of died with him, so that was kind of frustrating to see. We expected a lot. I'm echoing a lot. Was that just for me?
Your echo? Oh, man. Is
that you, Brendan?
No, I had you muted.
Do you hear an echo, or is it just me? Because I can get over that.
Are you still hearing it?
I'm hearing it. Are you guys hearing it?
You still hearing it? I'm not hearing an echo at all. But...
Is this better?
So well, basically what I was talking about before the show was Skolsky. So my computer is like the sound got messed up, like my stereos got messed up, and I don't know if that's the reason for the echo or not. Brendan, are you hearing it as well?
I was, but now we're coming fine.
How about me? Are you hearing it?
It's just you.
Maybe it's my microphone.
Way to go, Jersey Roy! You ruined this.
All right, they're hearing it in the from the people too. They're hearing echoes. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just the streaming service and not even us.
It was just me though.
I don't think honestly it could be the service. It could be the stream, the service.
Let me call this mic real quick. See if this helps.
All right. Anyway, well, basically, the thing is like it seems like they've had this type of situation a couple times this year where they've kind of blindsided by these injuries. It happened last week. It happened, was it the Atlanta game where like 3 guys went out within the first half, and it's right now because they're 5-5, and you look at some situations, especially this Patriots game. If you have Alshon Jeffrey and Jordan Howard, you could potentially come out with a victory. Another game, the Lions game, you could potentially come out with a victory, but you have guys who are out, and this has been a theme for 2 years. Guys are just going down like flies, and especially guys in the secondary too. So.
And give credit, that is like one of the better defenses in the NFL, and I thought they did a great job.
It's the best defense in the NFL.
And we talked about, last week we said, oh, they're going to be focusing on the tight ends. They actually focused a lot on Miles Sanders. They focused on taking out that wheel route. They focused on taking away his receiving ability because obviously he's our most explosive our most explosive receiver. So, they focused on taking out the wheel routes. Benjamin Solik did a great video breakdown how they actually switched on a blitz just to cover him out in the flat and make sure we didn't burn him, because I think he was supposed to be a heavy part of our offense, and then when he didn't work out, and then we obviously couldn't get the run game going once Lane was out, and then we had the drops and the receivers struggling to get open. It was just kind of like a mess after we got those first 10 points and we just couldn't get anything going. It was the exact opposite of the Super Bowl where we saw one punt. We just seemed like it was just a punt every couple of minutes essentially.
You would almost think that you were living this team was playing in the middle of Siberia with the medical situations. And the reason I say that is because one of every 3 doctors in the United States will have passed through Philadelphia at some point in time because of all of the medical research facilities and medical schools we have. And yet we have a whole bunch of weird things going on at the Eagles. Oh, let's talk about the team who also plays on Broad Street with the Sixers, where it seems like annually there's some type of botched medical situation with prospects. So it's just odd. That's all I can say. I get it. It's 11 weeks in the NFL. You show me a team who's all healthy and I'll show you a team full of liars. Everyone gets hurt. But you guys are right. There's a lot of weird things going on, especially when it's like, hey, we're off a bye week. Oh, everyone got hurt.
Yeah.
That's like Lane Johnson.
What the hell was that? It completely caught me off guard on Friday.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Lane one, that happens. You have 2 300-pound men smashing helmets. One of them's probably going to be hurt by the end of that day. But the Jordan Howard one was weird to me because that one really caught me off guard. And especially as someone, I had him in my FanDuel lineup. So I was pretty caught off guard when I had to swap him out.
Yeah. Because he still hasn't been cleared for contact. So
which is weird for a stinger. Like I feel like stinger usually it's like a day. Maybe
I don't know. Those things can radiate all the way down to your sciatic nerve and really funk up your legs.
Okay, but at the same time, I feel like our 2 worst moments for injuries have been pre-game warm-ups in Atlanta.
Yep.
And our bye week. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Those are supposed to be times when everything's safe. Like how are we getting hurt in those sports?
That's when you need to sit down and look at your strength and conditioning staff and being like, what are we doing in the off weeks? How hard are we pushing our guys in practice? Because that's the natural first thought I had is, are you pushing guys too hard in your off weeks or pregame that they're straining themselves? It's hard to imagine I can make that statement about multi-million-dollar professional athletes, but here we are, All
right, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to get into some of Seattle's weaknesses. And it's interesting because their 2 weaknesses are 2 strengths of the Eagles. They are struggling to stop teams on the ground. They're allowing 4.5 yards per carry, which is, I'm looking at it, it's 11th worst in the NFL. And then they are also allowing the 4th most yardage to tight ends, which is 51 receptions, 615 yards. Obviously, Eagles pose the dual threat of Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert there. So that makes me think, Jordan Howard's presence is needed even more there for his purposes to really run the ball up the middle. Because, again, with the running back situation, with Sanders and Scott not seeing the holes consistently and Lane Johnson being out, I think they need Howard. But what do you guys think about those 2 things there, the allowing most yardage to tight ends and then also the running defense? Seattle's defense really hasn't been.
Legion of Boom is gone.
Yeah,
it's gone. It's not, they're not the same. They're not the same team. Usually they're a very defensive, heavy team. When they just had a great running game, and that obviously Russell Wilson, one of the better, if not top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion. But definitely you look at them, their secondary has been struggling. They've been giving up a lot of points, especially to the more you look at the dynamic offenses they've played. They gave up, I think, like 25 plus points to eat almost every game. I forget what they're averaging. I have it up here. Yeah, 22.4. They're very kind of like middle of the pack. And like you said, one thing they're struggling against right now, it's tight ends. So, and that's like our only weapons right now in the passing game besides Miles Sanders. On the offensive side, I still think their offensive line, I'm not a big fan of it. Obviously, they haven't been good for whatever reason. They just won't protect Russell Wilson. They're just like, oh, you're a great scrambler. We'll just focus on other things, So I don't understand that, but that's good for us. I mean, our defensive line will take all the help they can get. But those were probably the two biggest things, is their secondary, not the Legion Boom's gone. I mean, Griffin's obviously pretty good, but and then their offensive line, which is two great things for us.
Well said, Skolsky. The offensive line is something that you would think like the whole Seattle staff just secretly hates Russell Wilson, the way that they so poorly protect him and invest in offensive line. I mean, I don't get it. But you're right. That's definitely their biggest weakness offensively. They're going to run the ball a lot. That's who they are. They got some receivers. They're coming off a bye week, which makes me a little more inquisitive about how much is Josh Gordon going to become more developed into that offense here. Not really sure if we're going to see Lockett or not. So, Lockett, Metcalf, Gordon, that's pretty good receiving core, if those guys all come out healthy. So offensively, and Russ doesn't turn the ball over. I mean, he only has 2 interceptions on the year, so he's not going to cough the ball up. You got to straight up beat this team because they're not going to beat themselves. You go to the defensive side of the ball, Jadeveon Clowney is a perfect example of why you should never box score stout defensive linemen. Because if you watch that Niners game, he's by far the best football player on the field by miles. But he only had 1 sack. However, he had 5 quarterback hits. He's the kind of guy that will straight up mess everything up for you. And Adrian, you're right. They don't do a great job with stopping the run. So what happens then? Your linebackers and your alignment, okay, now we're going to stack them. We're going to slide a little more, and they're going to be more about A and B gap responsible opposed to C gap, because you could have your linebackers be C gap responsible if you trust your D tackles can take care of the A and B gap. If those linebackers are wider in their alignment, what naturally happens is they're more prepared for tight ends because they're lined up more appropriately. So now because they can't stop the run, the linebackers come in. Now you get tight ends with an extra 2 to 3 yards of cushion on a linebacker, or you say, okay, well, we have to match them up for safety. They're not great in the safety situation. So it all puts a lot of options for Zach Ertz in the run game here to be successful. But honestly, guys, the biggest weakness for the Eagles is going to be based on, can Lane Johnson be 100% go, and can they stop Jadeveon Clowney? Because Clowney will straight up mess up your day if you let him.
Yeah, we'll get to that discussion in a second, because there's a reason why I got into that stuff, because I felt like the Patriots had a lot of the Eagles' strengths, really well covered, because those aren't really weaknesses on the Patriots. I mean, they cover tight ends well, they cover running backs really well. Their pass defense is tremendous, whereas Seattle's defense is a little bit more susceptible. So maybe this matchup against the Seahawks, is a little bit easier than the one against the Patriots. We'll see, though. We'll see, though, on Sunday. All right, the other thing I wanted to say is this. Seattle, they're 8-2, but they've also been in a lot of one-score games. 4 games. Some of their 8 wins have been by a touchdown or less, and they really haven't beaten much of anybody besides the 49ers this last game. So we're really going to find out how good Seattle is over the next 4 games. It's at Philadelphia, then they play Minnesota, Rams, and then the Panthers. So we're really going to find out about Seattle as well next month or so.
Yeah, kind of similar to the Cowboys. Their second half of the schedule, and the opposite of us, their second half of the schedule is a lot tougher than their beginning. So, I mean, it will be a real test. I mean, kind of a test for both teams. I mean, we talked about that last week with the Eagles and Patriots, and then the results was just kind of a mess offensively for both teams. So I feel like I didn't get a read really on either. But, I mean, I think this will be a great test for the Eagles. If we come out, our schedule is pretty much a cakewalk after that besides the Cowboys. So, I mean, this would be a huge win for us. So, but it's going to be a tough win if we do, that's for sure.
Seattle's only been in one game that wasn't a one-score game. And normally that's I think that's more of a good thing because it means like your team knows how to win close games. But when it's only that way, that means essentially I could flip a coin and your record could be the exact opposite here. So it is a little odd. I'm actually more a fan of Seattle than I'm against Seattle because I think Russ is always going to make 1 or 2 plays that he really shouldn't. And I actually really like Clowney, especially with what he's starting to turn on. It's unbelievable what he is. So I think this team is better than most people want to give him credit for. But at the same time, I'm not going to argue with the people that say, look, they only have won 1 game that wasn't a one-score game. And I'm like, yeah, that's not inaccurate. So I get why there's a little skepticism here of the Hawks.
But here's the thing. This is also Seattle's time of year. November, December is when they really turn it on. So now is when we're going to talk about Russell Wilson. We probably should have talked about him earlier in the show, but that's okay. So we talked about it a little bit briefly. You talked about some of the numbers, Brennan, but here we go. 26 touchdowns total. He's got 23 passing. Only 2 interceptions, as you mentioned, so he doesn't turn the ball over. 114.9 passer rating. But it's what he's done against Philadelphia. 8 touchdowns, no interceptions in 3 games. He's 3-0 against the Eagles. And here's the thing. So the Eagles' third and long defense has been a problem all season long. And I'm worried about Russell Wilson in these situations because not only his ability to scramble, but his ability to escape the pocket, extend plays, and keep his eyes downfield. And this is probably the thing I'm most worried about heading into this game.
I agree completely. We always seem to be great at getting pressure on the quarterback, but when it's a mobile quarterback, I feel like we've been struggling with contain.
Yes.
Now, opposite of the offense, I feel like we finally are starting to get healthy on defense. I feel like Darby actually looked like himself lately. You know, we saw a great swat down when he had a great recovery speed on that flea flicker. Mills, I feel like, has been amazing since he's came back. And then Nigel Bradham's back practicing, so we should get some help there. But it's all going to come down to containing Russell Wilson. I mean, he's going to have one or two of those magical plays, but, you know, we got to limit the big plays on top of that. You know, we can't let up more than that 1 and 2, because if we let him run wild or we break contain too often, he's going to make things happen. And I don't have enough trust in our offense to get in like a big shootout with them right now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, you guys aren't saying anything that I can't copy and paste and re-say again because it's all 100% true. I think right now Russell Wilson's the best quarterback in the NFL as far as who's playing his best. I would say it's Russ right now. And I always kind of say, like, when you have guys like Russ or Rodgers, they essentially can make any play 2 plays in once because they'll go and they'll be able to say, okay, hey, first 4 seconds, guy's not open. All right, scramble drill. And now all of a sudden that play that normally is 3 to 4 seconds is a 7-second play because that guy is scrambling. And that's really sucks for a defensive back. Whether you have good DBs or not, it really doesn't matter. You can't ask a guy to man someone up for 7 seconds. So it always makes it difficult here. You just simply have to limit his big play ability because he's going to get his. You just have to make sure it's not in the fourth quarter when time matters.
All right, so we talked about Russ. We also talked about Jadeveon Clowney a little bit earlier in the show, but we're going to talk about a little bit more extensively now. So he's got 2 sacks, 9 quarterback hits in his last 3 games. But as you talked about, it's not what he does in the box score. It's what he actually does on the field and what he sets up for his teammates, because it's his initial pressure into the backfield, which sets up sacks for other teammates, sets up tackles for losses in the running game. And he's been unbelievable turning it on recently because Seattle's pass rush had basically been non-existent for the first month, maybe 2 months of the year before he arrived. And he's really been turning it on lately. So without Lane Johnson, potentially, we'll see. He'd have to go against Andre Dillard, which would be not really fair for him. But thoughts on Jadeveon Clowney and the Seattle defensive line?
Jadeveon's always been interesting because he's always had the generational talent, but we always questioned the work ethic and always questioned the consistency. You know, we saw plays like, you know, remember, I don't think anyone will ever forget that South Carolina versus Michigan game. You know, stuff like that where it's just like, wow, it was wow plays. And I think before we was with Houston, you would see that every once in a while. I think you've been seeing that a little more often, more consistency now. The last few weeks with Seattle. But I mean, yeah, obviously he's a beast. And if we have Andre Dillard, who's going to be his first time playing on the right side, that's not an ideal matchup. And then when our best receivers are tight ends and running backs, we put them out, we put them over there to help them. I mean, that's one of our biggest weapons that we're taking away. So it's not really an ideal situation. If we do end up struggling, we're going to have to, you know, get the ball out quick and find, you know, run at them and just, you know, figure out ways to neutralize them essentially.
If there was a stat called assisted sacks, Jadeveon Clowney would be Steve Nash, it feels like, because he's one of those guys that he constantly is demanding double teams. He's forcing quarterbacks to step up, and all of a sudden the quarterback's falling into the lap of another defensive player. And Seattle has invested a lot in the early draft picks in their defensive line. LJ Collar out of TCU. Ziggy Ansah, a guy they brought in, obviously. Jaron Reed from Alabama. Puna Ford, who's looked like a complete steal for them.
He's unbelievable. I was going to talk about him.
So the opposite of their offensive line, they continually put resources into the defensive line.
100%. They get all the guys who put their hands in the dirt and go forward, opposed to guys who go backwards and protect. You're 100% right. Yeah. So they've invested a lot in this. And look, Clowney, he's one of those guys. If you let him, let's call it what it is, guys. He'll fuck your shit up. It's 100% what it is if you let him do it.
Yeah, he's real powerful too, and Dillard he struggles against the bull rush and kind of the power. So I would not be excited about that matchup if it comes to fruition. All right, so Skolsky kind of alluded to it earlier as well with the Eagles secondary looking a little bit better over recent weeks with some of them getting healthy. Ronald Darby, Jalen Mills has looked fantastic. So now it's Josh Gordon, DK Metcalf coming in. So we'll see. But again, it's about when Russell Wilson scrambles out of the pocket and what the cornerbacks do then, and if they're able to kind of play that backyard football kind of game and keep the coverage extended on the wide receiver.
Whoa, you guys see the comments? I'm sorry to interrupt. Apparently Ben Simmons just made a 3-pointer. Damn, I missed it.
By the way, I take all credit for Ben Simmons' success. All credit. He's talking about. He knows.
I thought he was lying. I pulled up the game cast.
I hate the fact that we're here. I really hate the fact that this is something people get excited about.
Did he really hit a 3?
Yeah. He's 1 for 1, shooting 100%.
I forgot to DVR this game. I got to Oh man,
I have it up. I got it. I can probably. It's gonna be on Twitter in a second.
Oh yeah, of course. I take credit. All credit. I know he's watching too. Even though he's playing in a game, he's watching this video.
No, hell yeah.
Checking his iPhone on the bench.
All right, so let's get. All right, so sorry to get off topic. That's some breaking news. Thank you. Who was that? Philly 24. So we talked about Wilson's ability to extend plays. When you have Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Josh Gordon, those are guys who have a lot of speed. So that makes it even tougher. So while Brady, we were able to do well last week, Tom Brady is not a threat to run. He's not a threat to really extend plays. Russell Wilson is. So it's going to be a lot bigger challenge to our secondary.
The other thing with the speed is the double move. And obviously that's something that we know the Eagles quarterbacks are, susceptible to.
Well, and where speed really matters is when you're not expecting it. And when you're not expecting it, when you face a team that runs the shit out of the ball like Seattle does, that's the biggest thing here. When they decide to go up top and go play action on you, it's usually because they run the hell out of the ball early in the game to make you a little more susceptible to play action and things like that. So that's going to happen, and that's why Metcalf has all the success. Skolsky, you showed it a while ago, and if you guys can't find it, I would encourage you to look for DK Metcalf's route chart. The majority of the stuff he's doing is just on the left-hand side running straight, and it's just because it's run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Okay, hey, it's first and goal or first and 10 from the 40. Hey, let's go up top on DK because he's just bigger and faster than most people, and we're not going to make him run a lot of things. So I understand everyone saying, oh, we could have had DK instead of JJ, and I get that. But I remind everyone, offense and defense is so much about the system you go to. DK is in a perfect situation to make everything very, very simple for him. I don't know if DK would have been as successful if he was a Philadelphia Eagle. I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. I am saying, though, that he is in a perfect situation to really excel at all the things he's special at.
I will say this. I wasn't the biggest DK Metcalf guy heading into the draft. So It's like, it's so easy to play that 2020 hindsight game, which is what everybody likes to do, especially here in Philadelphia, because we're filled with negative freaking idiots all the time, just saying stupid shit. So I was trying to watch out, put my words there. So I kept my cool. So yeah, there's that. All right. I guess we'll go into predictions now, since I really don't have anything else. It's kind of hard to make a prediction if we don't really know who's going to play or not, but we'll try and do it. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, like you said, I'm probably going to go down to whether or not Lane Johnson plays, whether or not Jordan Howard plays. I think it's going to be huge that Nigel Bradham's back, especially with the run-heavy team like them.
That's my phone.
Okay. Okay. So I think that's gonna be a great get back. I mean, Jerry's been doing okay in pass coverage, but he's not a great tackler. He's not great wrapping up. TJ Edwards is showing some promise, but he's still an undrafted rookie. It's hard to count too much on him. So I'm kind of on the fence. Like I said, it's going to depend on who's healthy. Like I said last week, I expected them to split these past 2 games. So I picked the Patriots, expecting to beat them and lose to them. So I think this also is a bigger game for us, or this kind of feels after that loss. So I was kind of on the fence going back and forth, but since Ben Simmons just made a 3-pointer, something in the air feels different in the Philadelphia area. So that's going to be my tiebreaker. I want to go with the Philadelphia. I'm going to go 27-24.
I hate so much that we are making such a big deal about a professional basketball player making a 3-point shot. I love both of you guys, but I'm telling you right now, this is my least favorite show we've done because of this exact moment in time.
It's real to me, damn it.
I just tweeted about it. It's historically significant, Brendan. Ben Simmons made a 3, and I take all credit for it because I'm the reason why it happened.
We had Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz, not being able to make 3-pointers or refusing to shoot them. We can get excited about it. We're our last 2 first overall picks. Let us have this one.
That's
We don't even have a team in Baltimore. Leave me alone.
That's fine. All right, let's hop back on the train.
Yeah, you do have a pretty good team at Baltimore too.
Yeah, but things are
Talking
going.
about basketball, yeah.
All right, well let's get back on predictions here. Normally, a Pacific time zone team going east really sucks for them. It really lucks out that Seattle had that bye week right before, though. I mean that I don't think that's something you can really overstate. Traditionally speaking, that Pacific team going east, it really hurts them here. I said last week, realistic expectations for the Eagles were to split between the Patriots and Seattle. I said that's realistic expectations. Winning both was not realistic expectations. However, Adrian, everything we just talked about here, I have no idea who's going to be on the offensive line. I have no idea who's going to be at running back. I'm not sure. There's a lot of options that I don't know what's going to happen. So if you're asking me to put money, yeah, I'm going to put money on Seattle because I know far more things about the Hawks than I do than the Eagles.
Sure.
So right now I would go 24-21. I mean, the Hawks average 28 points a game. The Eagles are in like the 22 type of range here. So I think that's a realistic number there.
I mean, we talked about, I like Andre Dillard a lot. I think he's our cornerstone left tackle, but play the right side after a week of practice when they training camp, they only played on the left side. Practice up until the season started, they only did the left side. I don't know how much he's been cross-training with Lane Johnson there, but just to play the opposite side against Jadeveon Clowney, that's a huge test. So as much as I love Dillard's future, I mean, that's a big loss if Lane Johnson's not there. But it sounds like he should be there, but with our medical staff, who the hell knows? So again, it comes down to if Lane Johnson is there, I think we can maybe squeeze it out. If not, it's going to be a really tough game for us.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. So I got a 23-20 Eagles win. That's what I got. So late second, Jake Elliott field goal, but that's only if Jordan Howard plays. So if Lane and Jordan Howard are out, I don't see how the Eagles are going to win this game. I would have Seattle by like 7 or 10 points. But if Jordan Howard's able to play, I think they'll be able to run the ball. So even without Lane Johnson, I think they can run the ball with Jordan Howard a little bit more effectively than Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. So that's where I am. Are you guys surprised that the Eagles are favored in this game?
Shocked. I was about to say that, Adrian. The fact that the Eagles are a 1.5 favorite completely shocks me. Completely shocked me.
So what does that tell you, Vegas experts over here? I mean, what does that tell you that they have us favored?
Go ahead, Adrian. Talk about the public money.
Well, all the public is Seattle right now. So what does this tell you? If this tells you Eagles are going to win this game, that's what it says. But that's what the money said. Sharp said last week. But New England always covers. Like
I don't understand this. This is a very confusing one for me. Honestly, this is a game I would love to put some money down because I don't see a 1.5. If I don't see it for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, with so many question marks, It'd be tough. I mean, I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on it at all right now.
You'd have to wait to put your money on it until Sunday.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't want to touch it right now.
With all the guys out or playing potentially. Put the money on it.
I mean, also, if we lose this game, it's not the end of the world. It does make it tough because we need Dallas to, lose an additional game. Or if we win
basically, the way I'd feel is if they lose, they'd have to win out.
Yeah, I agree with that, 100%.
Yeah. Like they can lose if they win this game, they can afford one more loss as long as it's not to Dallas.
Correct.
So that's so this gives you like a little bit of wiggle room if you win it, but ultimately it's going to come down to week 16. It's going to come down to Dallas at home, and that's going to decide the division and the number 4 seed in the NFC playoffs. So that's where we're at right now. All right.
And then we better draft a damn wide receiver.
Huh?
So then we better draft a damn wide receiver.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of wide receiver talk during the offseason. Brennan is going to be enjoying that. So what's the possibility that Lamb even drops to the Eagles? If I don't even know, but that would be a perfect fit. Yeah, I don't see it.
I mean, I'd move up. I mean, we have how many draft picks right now? Like 11 or something? 10, 11?
It's true. It's possible. Yeah, they could trade up.
We have all these saving up all these comp picks by not signing free agents. You gotta do something with them. If you see a guy that you think's a surefire stud. I mean, I see that in CD Lamb. I'll go up and get him. I mean, but on the flip side, you could say, look how deep this wide receivers draft is. Why don't I, get helps elsewhere, get some of the secondary, or even go, get Henry Ruggs or go Hamler or Rager. I mean, there's so many good wide receivers. I mean, if you see one that you think, oh, this guy's like a Pro Bowler, go up and get him. But if you see, I think these next 3 guys are all in the same tier, I understand waiting. But I want 2 wide receivers in our first 3 picks. Our first, I could say, first 3 rounds, maybe not first 3 picks.
I agree with that. That's what they did with the cornerbacks with Sidney Jones and Russell Douglas.
Yeah, I mean, look, Henry Ruggs to me is the dream fit of all of them here, and we've obviously gone from predictions to draft stuff, which obviously makes me happy. But Henry Ruggs is the fit. Henry Ruggs is the guy who will stretch the field vertical. He's much thicker than the traditional slot vertical guy, and I think he's actually a lot better than people want to give him credit for because he plays next to Ruggs, because he plays next to Judy. But Henry Ruggs would be the ideal fit for me. I don't think he's realistically going to be there, though, fellas. I think he'll be gone by that point in time. I would actually look really heavily at Devontae Smith from Alabama. Let's go talk about the 3rd Alabama receiver that could be drafted in the first round. The reason I would like him for the Eagles, punt returner. And that's something that it's not something you draft because he's great at it. You draft if you're splitting hairs between a guy. Special teams ability is like a +1, like bonus points. And I think that's something the Eagles really could benefit from, having a better return man.
All right, so I guess we'll take some quick questions before we depart. Let's see what we got here. I mean, a lot of the stuff here is actually a lot of the stuff that it's all just. I mean, this is what we got in our comments.
Low questions today. Just everyone exploding over Ben Simmons.
Yes. So
phrasing.
Ben Simmons made it 3. It is all because of me. I have some deep inside information that I know. I know some deep inside information.
Some deep inside information.
Deep inside. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not going to say it though, out of respect for Ben Simmons.
Okay. You're not going to say it. I mean,
yeah. All right. Ooh, Tommy H is confident Seahawks are going to win by 14 or more.
They could. I mean, if Lane's out, Jordan Howard's out. I mean, I can see it going that way.
I didn't think it's possible, right?
I think it's possible. I mean, the Eagles are such a hard team to kind of get your hand around, kind of figure out what they are. I feel like we're still trying to figure out our identity. I mean, we beat the Packers. We lose to a terrible Falcons team. I mean, Eagles, that's what most Philadelphia teams. We don't make any sense. So, I mean, for all I know, we're going to win by 30 points and then we'll lose to the Giants. That's Philadelphia sports for you.
Let's see. Oh, sorry. That wasn't the one I was trying to, this one. You guys think Dallas will fold Sunday? See, Dallas now has to play New England, and we'll see because Dak had 444 yards and 3 touchdowns last week against the measly Lions. We'll see what he can do this week against the ferocious and mighty Patriots.
All right, first, no discredit to Dak. Dak's playing out of his mind this year, but I'm tired of the Cowboys getting all these breaks. They get to play the Lions without Stafford.
I know.
After an already cakewalk at the beginning. Last week was supposed to be the transition to their harder part of the schedule.
When they were like the second week before they really stunk and went on that.
No, now they're back. They've been playing really well lately.
That's true. Yeah.
But I mean, oh man, and the Lions still played them really hard, and it was a pretty close game. So I mean, I think if Stafford was there, they would have won. So that kind of sucked. But I mean, we'll find out a lot about the Cowboys because the Patriots are healthy. So
how is this game not Monday night? And I'm not saying that because I think these are the 2 best teams in the league. Just because
are you talking about Seattle and the Eagles, or
no? He's talking about Cowboys.
Or the Knicks.
I'm talking about the Cowboys and the Patriots. Just from a simple ratings perspective, why the hell from the NFL would you not make this the Monday night game?
Well, they did. They flexed us out of Sunday night. So who did they flex to Sunday night in place of us? Was it Packers?
Who did they flex to Sunday night? But by the way,
no, they flexed. We were supposed to play Seattle Sunday night, but they flexed us out of it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
I forget who but they didn't put. They didn't put
San Francisco.
That's what it was. Yeah, I mean it's a good game, but I mean personally, I'd rather see that. But
actually,
also,
Monday night game is the Rams and Baltimore. There's a lot of great games.
That's Monday night. Yeah.
Wow.
The Rams have been playing like shit, and the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. I think you guys are just going to dominate them. And if you want to answer this question that's down below here, I mean, let's look at the stats here. Ben Simmons is shooting 100% from 3-point range right now. 100%.
Put him in
top of the league. He's number 1 in the league in
best 3-point shooter in the league.
Yeah.
All you guys are worried about his jump shot. He's the best 3-point shooter in the league. He's 100%. I
bet you I'm going to look at the stats. He's like bricked 8 since, but
he's going to be the best 3-point shooter in NBA history.
I hate both of you.
I did that just for you, Brendan.
Yeah. All right. We're going to end it on that. So.
All right.
Oh, Bubba, you can't have a little fun.
Tell him, Bubba.
Bubba doesn't get.
Bubba. Yeah, Bubba, tell him.
Bubba doesn't get laid enough.
Tell him, Bubba.
Are you kidding me? 4 question marks? 4 question marks? You're that pissed off and mad about it?
I'm rocking with you, Bubba.
Find things in life that make you happy. You don't have to be so angry all the time.
Yeah, find things in life that make you happy.
God forbid you get happy about something that happened in sports. I mean, is it something that, am I going to go print out a banner? Am I going to get on a flag and run around the parking lot? No, but can I be happy for the guy? Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's fine. Be happy.
I get it.
Your grammar's also embarrassing, Bubba. Your grammar is embarrassing. Professional basketball players who
don't worry about it, Bubba.
Number 1.
Your name's Bubba. Shouldn't you be shooting alligators down in Louisiana or something?
Don't worry, Bubba. I'm rocking with you, man. I agree with you all the way, Bubba.
Come on, Bubba. Pick up your game. Step game up.
Be happy for him. Come on, support your local players.
See? It's going to be all Bubba's fault. Now he's not going to never shoot again. That's what Eric R. says. So, all right, one last quick question, just real quick. Russ Wilson or Lamar for MVP? Just because Brendan is a Ravens fan.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. I'm echoing again. Hold on. I'd say Lamar. Just because we haven't seen anything like this. He's about to shatter the records. I mean, even just look at fantasy-wise, he's going to break Pat Mahomes' point record from last year. I mean, he's just such a threat running the ball. I feel like Greg Roman's been amazing hire for them. I think, he's the most exciting player in football, so I'll go Lamar.
You don't like Lamar Jackson either.
I like Russell Wilson more.
Uh-huh.
You're not asking me who's the better player. You're asking who I think is going to win the MVP.
Here's what it depends what the question is, I guess, because I feel like because of the schedule that Russell Wilson's about to have, Lamar Jackson's going to win the MVP because Russell Wilson may start throwing a couple picks and the stats might start getting not as good. But if you would have to ask me who's it right now, it's Russell Wilson.
I mean, let's look at. Michael Carter-Williams won Rookie of the Year. Malcolm Brogdon won it over Sarge and Embiid. It's not the person who wins the award doesn't mean they're necessarily the better player. Like if I was picking a team, I'd pick Russell Wilson.
Sure.
Because Lamar Jackson, I think they have the system set up perfectly for him.
Yep.
But I think if you look stat-wise, which they normally do for MVP, I mean, it's Lamar Jackson, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't – it's – look, I'm cool, honestly. I'm not going to argue. I don't have a big beef one way or another. It's one of these two guys at this point in time here. But I think Lamar is incredible, but I would just give it to Russ. I don't know what it is. I think it's the fact that and we try not to do this. We try to, like, talk about, like, all the stats. But when you look at Lamar's passing stats right now, they're on par with, like, Tyrod Taylor in 2015, which is not exactly awesome. So for that reason, I would give it to Russ, but I'm cool with either one, truthfully.
I think either one's fine. Yeah. There's no wrong answer.
I think it's going to be Lamar if the Ravens, especially if they get a 1 or 2 seed. I think it's going to be him.
Right.
I don't think Wilson's going to be a division winner, but we'll see. I mean, they are 8-2. I think they're about to start losing some games coming up, and he's going to fade just slightly enough that Lamar is going to win because they're going to go like 12-4.
That's the reality here. The reality here is what team ranks higher in their conference seeding.
Exactly.
If the Seahawks win win out, I mean, are they win majority of the second half of the game against this tougher half of the schedule? Because
listen,
look at the teams that the Ravens have beat.
If we're out against that schedule, Russell Wilson's your MVP.
I mean, Lamar Jackson dominated the Patriots. I mean, he's beat some really good teams. I mean, the Seahawks have had more of a cakewalk of a schedule. But I mean, if Russ dominates these next few weeks, then that might be the tiebreaker.
He can win. Yeah, he can win the award the next month. That's true. That's a good point. All right. I guess that's it. Okay, we're gonna go watch Ben Simmons hit some more 3-pointers.
I watched it already.
3-point percentage that cannot be improved upon because it's perfect right now. He's
contested corner 3. I just watched it.
Contested.
Yeah, I was expecting him to be like sagging off him, like.
So all the shooting gloves. There it is, baby.
We're
out of here. We're out of here before we make Brennan's head explode. That's Mike Skolsky, Brennan Albert. I'm Adrian Fedque. Ben Simmons hit a 3. That's right. We're out. Peace.
Appreciate it.